This is right after Colton was born.
Yeah, when he cried, his little chin would just sit there and quiver.
It's easy for Karen and Michael Hidde to look at these photos, to remember the happy days following their son Colton's birth.
So that was the fun part. That was the good part. You know, he's just born. They're all happy, new parents.
It's not as easy to look at the photos that follow, pictures of the crisis that almost took Colton's life.
It all happened really fast.
She started foaming blood from the nose and mouth.
And then the first Flight for Life helicopter came.
I did some praying definitely there.
4-day-old Colton had been rushed to the emergency room, limp and lethargic. After his condition rapidly deteriorated, he was airlifted to Children's Hospital of Wisconsin.
And then just after he arrived and we had him on the bed, his heart actually very briefly stopped.
The only thing I could really think of is why is this happening? And we felt helpless.
Colton arrived at Children's Hospital in a coma, his ammonia levels too high to count.
The biggest question right away was, at some level, is this even a survivable condition because of his state?
We expect that about half of the children with ammonia this high will die, and of those that survive, about 2/3 will have very severe neurological problems.
Doctors began dialysis and used an experimental treatment to try and save the baby. They suspected a genetic disorder was causing Colton's high ammonia levels. These genetic flaws are revealed through newborn screening, but Colton's screen had not been processed yet. Within the first few days of a child's life, their blood sample is taken for the newborn screen. Wheaton Franciscan St. Joseph Hospital, known as the Baby Hospital, screens over 3,000 children each year.
The newborn state screening test provides to parents information about the health of their infant. It does rule out a variety of diseases that are very rare in newborns, but they're things that if we know about them ahead of time, we can really help the infant and their family.
Because time is critical when treating these genetic disorders, state guidelines require samples to be sent for processing within 24 hours of collection.
As a state, most of the hospitals do extremely well with this.
Federal guidelines say those samples must arrive within 3 days. Many hospitals follow these guidelines, but some use a practice known as batching, which can delay screening results. Batching is when screening samples are held by the hospital and sent to the lab as a group. Newborn screening programs throughout the country advise against the practice, citing it as dangerous. However, there are no penalties applied when hospitals batch.
I remember that.
This was the shawl that they had used to scoop the water to baptize Colton with. We carried this shawl everywhere with us in the hospital. I guess in the back of my mind, I kept thinking that if I had the shawl with me, that God would be with him.
While Colton lay in a coma, the cause of his illness was still unknown. His newborn screen, taken at the New London Family Medical Center where he was born, was not sent within the state's 24-hour shipping guidelines. Instead, it was held and sent later with other samples. A hospital spokesperson would not say if the samples were batched, but did acknowledge that Colton's sample was sent to the lab 4 days after it was taken.
The whole point of the test is to catch something before something bad happens. It doesn't matter if you have one birth that week or if you have, 3 or 4 births during the week. Don't batch them all together. Just send them out individually.
5 days after Colton's newborn screening was taken, the results were in.
Colton has a genetic disorder that is called ASAL, which is in the urea cycle, which in return was the reason his ammonia levels were so drastically high.
The children with what we call arginosuccinic aciduria, which is what Colton has, the children that are identified promptly typically do not have high ammonias. With prompt recognition and prompt hospitalization, those children have been prevented from having a crisis.
It could have been prevented had the right testing been done at the right times. It might not have been fully prevented, but it could have been not as bad as what it is. We are still uncertain as far as what brain damage was done. We never compare him to other people because he's probably not going to be where other people are. We've been working on him sitting up because that's one of the areas where he's lacking. We don't know what is in store for Colton. All we can do is just be happy for what he is doing and just keep putting forth the effort to help him be the best he can be. Colton, happy birthday to you. Yay!
You can blow your candle out.
Ready? Look at your birthday cake.
Sneeze. Can you go hot?
Ready?